Okay, so now we're in the second segment of the actual show with the guest. And this is where I like to get started, where find out from the guests where they got started and what obstacles they were faced and how they overcame those obstacles. So I'm using the script from the show that I did with Ed Rush. Now, when I actually, prior to having Ed on the show, I had a conversation with him. Said, you know, Ed, I'd like you to talk about consulting because he has a consulting program that he sells, and he works with coaches and consultants. So he had asked me, you know, is there any way that we could give the people the link to opt in and potentially, you know, get them in a sales funnel? I said, sure. So I know the end goal. The end goal was that I wanted to take people through the process and get them to come to the conclusion that if they wanted more information, they click on this link and they go get more information from Ed. So knowing that that's the end goal, I wanted to take the people on a journey by laying that foundation. The first segment was laying that foundation of who is Ed Rush. The second segment now is how he got started in the coaching consulting business and what obstacles he may have overcome. So one of the questions I asked Ed was, Ed, what was the first business you had built that did over $100,000 and how long did it take? And what was the first business that you built that did over $1 million and how long did it take? So the answer, it was really a leading question. Because when you know how to be successful once and the principles you use in that success, you can shorten the time frame the next time and you can grow even bigger. Now this and it also leads into the next question about scale and I'm seeding for his consulting course. So constantly throughout the show, I'm laying some seeds. I'm planting some seeds that might grow before the end of the show, where people think that, hey, I want to learn from this guy. I want to take his course. So I'm planting these seeds. So the answer for Ed, which was, it took them the same amount of time to grow his first business to 100,000 that it did to grow his other business to $1 million. The reason it took the same amount of time is because the principles he used, he had compressed his learning time, and it was very similar principles. So he's able to do the same thing in a much shorter time frame, and he knew how to scale. So it's all about the things that he's learned through his process. Because remember, I'm thinking, 6 steps ahead, that I want people to opt into whatever, to go to Ed's event, or I think he had an upcoming event. So that was my end goal. So I'm leading people down a path to say, oh, okay, well, wow, this guy, it took him X amount of time to grow to $100,000. And then when he did his second business, or $1 million business, it took him the same amount of time. So obviously he learned something. And so obviously he has a lot of experience and a lot of credibility. So I'm just trying to help build that throughout this process. And then I asked him a second question. So in the second question, again, it's, I'm seeding. All the questions are pre-designed because I'm really trying to seed these questions for his consulting course that we're going to talk about later. So it is very much planned out. The show is very much planned out in advance because I'm trying to give the viewer, a lot of information, a lot of education. At the same time, I'm helping the guests grow their authority, have it so people will know them, get to know them, to like them and trust them, and potentially do business with them someday. It doesn't mean they have to take action that day, but I've introduced them to a new segment of the population. And, potentially when the viewer is interested in taking some action, that this might be a person that they want to take action with at some point in time. Okay. So what I would do now, like I said, I would ask the second question. We would go through the second question. The second question actually is about scalability, which, is a direct link to the first question, which is from 100,000 to a million. So basically, the next one is about scalability. How big is scalability when it comes to, making 250K or building a coaching business over $1 million? So it's all about scalability. So because I'm planting these seeds, because I know in Ed's coaching, his training program, he has the tools and the strategies that will help a consultant grow their business and be able to scale it. So like I said, I keep planting seeds. I keep seeding questions with the end goal in mind. And now we're at a minute 29. So I'm going to close out this segment for the questions and answers. And I know at a minute 29, I'm close out the answer before transitioning for editing and the question and answer. Now we're at the